Dynamite tonight was the Fallout edition from AEW Redemption. We are now officially on the road to Wembley. And they were in Detroit. Thought for sure we were going to get the Motor City Machine Guns on the show tonight. Did not get them. However, Collision is live in the same building in Detroit tomorrow night. It is a live episode of Collision. I'm sure Carlos Silva is punching air somewhere, taking out a contract on Tony Khan, even though it is a Warner Brothers Discovery decision. You know, there's a little show called SummerSlam this weekend. I'm sure they did not want to program AEW up against SummerSlam. But in any event, we may get the Machine Guns tomorrow. We'll see. What we did get tonight here on the show was a 35-minute overrun. What are we doing? What are we doing, Tony? 35-minute overrun for tonight's show. A show that had Jon Moxley against Commander. Was it really necessary to have Jon Moxley against Commander on a show that went 35 minutes overtime? I don't think so. But in that overrun, we had a face-to-face confrontation between the AEW World Champion Kenny Omega and his challenger, the number one contender for the title, the heir apparent to the throne, Will Ospreay, his friend, or I guess no longer friend. The thing I liked about Dynamite tonight, and I liked more about the show than I didn't like, but so many times coming out of these pay-per-views, they're missing big names. There's a lot of thrown together matches. It's missing something. And there were some matches that felt thrown together tonight as well. But it just feels like it's missing something. Maybe guys are hurt, keeps them off the show. All the big guns were basically more or less there tonight. And so it felt like a bigger deal than it normally would. We had two different segments, actually three. We had three different segments tonight, promo segments, to key up the top matches for All In, which is still several weeks away, about a month away. Cope and Christian and the Bucks, sit-down interview. Good start. Everything was very friendly. No real, there was a little bit of tension there, but it wasn't like it got out of hand or anything. I thought that was good. Willow Nightingale and Mercedes Moné, best thing on the entire show. We'll talk about their face-to-face. And then we had this with Omega and Ospreay, who were in the main event of this upcoming pay-per-view. I thought the promo work for those key matches at All In was on point. All except Kenny Omega. In the closing segment, there were moments where I was like, okay, this is all right with Kenny. A lot of what Omega was saying to me, it felt very forced. When Ospreay took the microphone and he sent it home with all the emotion and all the energy, he fired back at Omega on the mic. That was much better than I felt like what we got from Kenny. And I've said before, Kenny Omega, I don't look at Kenny Omega as like a great promo. That's not what Kenny Omega is known for. Kenny Omega is called the best bout machine, a wrestling god, all of these nicknames that he's acquired over the years. Best promo is not one of them. I've said this before. Tonight was a good example of that. I thought he got outshined by Ospreay in that department. But what we have now between the two of them is heat. They were talking about how they love and respect each other. That's still there. But now we have two men who came off tonight as being angry at each other, and they let each other know how they feel, coming out of what we saw at the end of that main event on Sunday at Redemption with the plastic bag, and they were going to try to break Omega's neck and Ospreay. And if you saw the pay-per-view, you saw how everything went down. Now I wonder what these next 4 weeks are going to look like, or 5 weeks, in terms of what they're going to do to keep things interesting between these two. I don't know. But for tonight, I was just glad they were on the show. I was half expecting that we were going to have a half-empty roster tonight. I'm just glad the key players were in the building. Willow and Mercedes and Omega and Ospreay and Moxley, right? Hangman. Oh my God, Hangman Page, who made his return on Collision a few weeks ago. If you didn't watch Collision and you only watched Dynamite, you would never even know that Hangman made his return a few weeks ago. You would never even know. But there he was tonight. And he can't compete for the world championship, obviously. So he's going to involve himself in other things. He was involved in the Trios title aftermath tonight because we have new trios champions. It is the demand. Ricochet has a belt here in AEW. The conglomeration are no longer champions. And Hangman Page came out to make the save for the conglomeration. He's got plenty of other championships that he could be competing for. I guess we'll find out where he lands. But even he was on the show tonight. So I like that. Promo work was good. All the key players were there. Andrade, Maya World, both had their first title defenses coming off their wins at Redemption. And Jon Moxley, as I mentioned before, he wrestled Commander on this show for the Continental title. Moxley in a promo segment later on, though, out in the parking lot, he was going on and on. He was talking about this, that, and the other. And he just kind of threw it out there. The mention of this Continental Cup. It was like in passing almost. He mentioned that there's going to be a Continental Cup, I guess, to decide on the person who will be challenging him for the Continental Championship at All In. And I'm like, come again? The Continental what? No context to it or anything. It was never mentioned. I'm like, where did this come from? What is this Continental Cup you speak? I know we have a Continental Classic at the end of the year. What is this Continental Cup that you speak of? It sounds like they're going to do a tournament, I guess, to decide a number one contender for the Continental Championship. And the whole thing to me is just completely ridiculous because every single week practically, maybe not every week, but it feels like it, Jon Moxley is on television defending the Continental Championship against totally random people. He defended it tonight against Commander, who was one of 6 men who did not win. Well, he was one of 6 men. One of them won. One of 5 men who did not win in the ladder match on Sunday to crown a challenger, future challenger for the international title. And so I guess he was gifted a Continental title match tonight. Commander, Shane Taylor, Bandito. How are these people being decided on as challengers? But now we have a Continental Cup. I guess it's special because it's Wembley, and so we're going to have a tournament. But I just was like, the way he threw it out there was so random, and it was so, like, just off the cuff. I was like, can they at least explain how this is going to work? Maybe we'll have to wait until Collision tomorrow night. At least we know we're not getting another random challenger, I guess, at All In. There'll be some semblance of like, okay, here's how we're actually going to decide this. And as far as who it possibly is going to be, my first guess would be Hangman. But it's way too early to know because we don't even know what the fuck the Continental Cup is. Do you win a cup? Maybe you don't even get a title match. Maybe you get a fucking cup. I don't know. Here's a cup. You want to win a cup? I don't know. Hangman can't challenge for the World Championship. Nobody said he couldn't challenge for the Continental title. We already had Hangman and Moxley at All In last year. I don't really have an appetite to see it again this year, but that was the first name that popped into my head. I guess we'll have to wait and find out. But on the whole, I did enjoy the show. There were parts of the show I didn't enjoy as much. But to me, it was an improvement over some of the recent episodes of Dynamite and some of the other television shows, frankly, that I've been seeing. We'll talk about everything that happened here. I will say, you know who the MVP was of this show? The MVP of this show was not Kenny Omega. It was not Will Ospreay. It was not any of the people that you saw in the ring tonight. The MVP of this show was the crowd. It was the crowd in Detroit. I salute you. Hot crowd, great crowd tonight for Dynamite. When the energy is up, it's a different vibe, whether it's a big arena, whether it's a smaller venue like this one. Or are they the Masonic Temple, I believe is where they were tonight. Great crowd. This is your AEW Dynamite review. It is Wednesday, July 29th. I guess the final one here for the month of July, 2026. I am the Solomonster. Like and subscribe. We just passed 93,000 subscribers on the channel, so I thank you. I also have to say thank you to 1972 Bones 666, who gifted 5 channel memberships. I see a sea of green here on my screen. Thank you for the gifted memberships, and congrats to all of the new channel members that we now have. Appreciate it. Super chats are open. We got a couple of new ones, the $14 and $15 ones. You'll find all of the special amounts in the description down below. and they will be popping up on your screen. We'll read all your messages a little bit later on. Tomas says, are those mugs on sale? Yes, they are. These mugs are, in fact, on sale if you would like one. Look at that. It's got the logo on both sides. Just go to the Solomonster.com and go. It's my link tree. Go all the way to the bottom. You'll see a link that says Get Mugged. Click on that link. And we got to spin the wheel. That's right. I almost forgot. We got to spin the wheel here. Find out what our likes goal is. If we hit the goal, we have a special segment that we'll be doing a little bit later on. But we got to hit the goal. Hey, King Solomon in the chat. I love you too. Thank you, brother. 600 likes. It ain't looking good, guys. Be the Booker may have to wait until SmackDown on Friday night. 600 for a Dynamite stream is asking a lot. We're not even halfway there. But look, miracles have happened. So go ahead and hit that thumbs up. It does help get the review in the algorithm here on YouTube. It's not just for show and tell. It does help out the video. Let me get into the beginning of the show here. A snorkel gear just popped up. How about it? There he is. Barry. A brand new $14 super chat. Hey, DJ, welcome to the channel. Welcome, brother. So, we had a video at the beginning of the show focusing on everything that happened at the end of the pay-per-view on Sunday after Kenny Omega beat Kevin Knight to retain the championship. The Death Riders came out.
I am the
Shut the fuck up. You know, he was not on the show tonight. Fuck that tree. The learning tree was not on the show tonight, and I'm okay with that. I got enough of him on Sunday. Thank you, Snorkel. But the whole angle they shot at the end of Redemption, where the Death Riders tried to kill Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay came out to make the save. And he ended up leaving the Death Riders, and then Omega, he got up, he dropped Ospreay with a one-winged angel. And so now here we are. They showed other footage of Jon Moxley backstage with the Death Riders. They kind of spliced it into the highlights. And he said, what did that take? 3 minutes? Said he's been trying to tell Ospreay for months now that Omega is not his friend. He's trying to eradicate Omega. He wanted Ospreay to see that for himself, but it's not over yet. Now Will Ospreay might be the best wrestler in the world with nothing to lose. Now he is truly on death ground. Joel says, I literally log in and the first words I hear is, fuck that tree. Well, you got to agree though, right? Surely you agree with that. Ospreay was interviewed live outside the building by Mrs. Moxley. This will never not be funny to me, by the way. When you have a serious angle like this, and Jon Moxley is at the center of it. And in this case, Jon Moxley attempted to murder someone. He was going to suffocate. He was going to smother Kenny Omega after breaking his neck, by the way, on Sunday. And so everything is centered around this and the Death Riders. And then we go live to Renee Paquette as if everything is okay. She's a totally independent party in all this. So Renee is in the back, and she is attempting to interview Will Ospreay, who is walking into the building. He has a look on his face like he is a man with a purpose. He looks very angry, very focused. But he runs into the Death Riders. And Daniel Garcia tried to get in his face. He caught an elbow to the mouth. Moxley calmed the situation down. He asked Ospreay, are you sure you want to do this? Ospreay told him, you don't get to pull the trigger for me. and he handed the Death Riders back their official patch. He gave the patch back. Remember the patch that they gave him a few weeks ago to officially become a member of the Death Riders? He handed it back. And he said, I'm out. So they clear a path for him to walk. And as he's walking towards the building, who is walking out of the building but Hangman Adam Page? His first appearance on Dynamite since March. But it appears that he is wheeling his luggage out of the building. Which begs the question, I mean, the show just started. Where the fuck is he going? How early did he get to the building, and what exactly was he doing before the show? Was he there to meet Tony Khan? Was he there to do other things? Maybe a photo shoot? I don't know. But it appeared to me that he was leaving and the show had only just begun. So they bump into each other. He offered Ospreay help if he needed it. Ospreay said, look, I appreciate that, but I can't trust Kenny Omega. And if I can't trust Kenny Omega, I can't trust you. And Hangman said, I understand. And he knows when Ospreay gets to Wembley, he'll be the best he's ever been. He told him he hopes that he believes in himself. And I just thought, well, that was awfully random. But it's a little unsettling, I will say, seeing Hangman so jolly. I mean, considering the last time we saw him, he looked like an absolute fucking maniac. And now he's walking around, he's talking about, his garden, and he's got a big smile on his face, and he's kind of joking around with Ospreay, and he's got words of encouragement for him. I'm like, what? Has he been in therapy? I mean, what has this man been doing in his time off? He has found his inner chi. He is a man at peace with himself. I miss the old Hangman. Where's he at? Where's Swerve Strickland at, by the way? Where the fuck has he been? We got 4 weeks until Wembley Stadium. Is he going to be on that show? But you know what? I have a theory about this. It kind of makes sense that Hangman would be very chipper and he would have a smile on his face and he would be in a much better mood because he no longer has the stress on his shoulders of having to challenge for the world championship, right? A giant weight has been lifted off his shoulders. He can't challenge for the title again. So it's like, well, that's one thing I don't have to worry about anymore. I could just live my life and I can garden and I can just pick another title because there's so many of them to choose from that he could wrestle for. See, this is the best thing that ever happened to this guy. So now we get into the actual show. It opened with a three-way match for the AEW National Championship, and we had the brand new national champion Andrade El Idolo defending his title against Jungle Jack Perry and Nick Wayne. Perry and Wayne were two of the 6 men involved in the opening ladder match on Sunday to challenge for a shot at the international title. They both lost, right? Speedball won that match. So I guess this was their consolation prize. We can't get a shot at the international title, but we can get a shot at the national title. That's the beauty of having a national title and an international title. We'll just challenge for the other one if we fuck up and we can't challenge for the other. Sure. So Perry took Andrade off the apron at one point to the floor with a Hurricane Rana. And Nick Wayne then surprised Perry with a destroyer from the ring out to the floor, which was pretty nutty. So things were moving at a very, I think I'm being generous when I say things were moving at a very brisk pace here in this match. Perry landed 3 consecutive suicide dives and a moonsault from the top onto both men outside. And honestly, like as I'm watching him here in this match, this is the hottest he's ever come off here on the show in terms of like the crowd energy. The crowd was super into him and he was flying around all over the place. I mean, again, the crowd was very hot for most of the show anyway. But he brought Nick Wayne back inside. He hit a sit-out powerbomb for a near fall. Andrade came back. He sent Perry out to the floor. Then he went for a top rope splash. Nick Wayne, though, got the knees up. Wayne landed a Phoenix splash. Perry, though, broke up the fall that followed. Andrade then hit a back elbow on Jack Perry, and then the DM on Nick Wayne for the win. No surprise. I mean, the man literally just won the championship on Sunday. This was more just sort of, hey, let's just throw these guys out there to have a banger match to open the show. And to that end, the crowd was into it. So right out of that crazy ladder match, on Sunday. You have these two guys going out here on this show, nearly killing themselves again for the second time in 48 hours, or I guess 72 hours. Hot opener. Again, crowd was pretty much into everything all three of them were doing. And I will say Andrade in particular, super over right now. Kind of makes me sad he's holding the national title, because the national title hasn't been well enough established for me to sit here and say that it really means a whole lot that he's holding it. For Mark Davis to go out there and hold the national title. Mark Davis didn't hold any singles gold. I don't think he had any gold in this company. So for him to get a push as the national champion, for him, that's meaningful. Andrade feels like he's above this, especially because for months, this man went on television and said, I want the world title. Every time MJF was on the show, I want the world title. Don, I want the world title. And Don Callis would tell him, tranquilo, you'll get your shot. Just be patient. And now he's shifted over where he's okay with winning other championships other than the world title. It's a very abrupt change to what I thought his mission statement was. But in any event, so when the match was over, Tony Schiavone gets in the ring and he asks Andrade, how he feels. And he said, tranquilo, because he had screwed MJF and he brandished the Dynamite diamond ring that he stole from him. He still has it. Which tells you who MJF is going to be gunning for, by the way, the next time we see him back on TV. So he's feeling very tranquilo. He screwed MJF. He screwed Don Callis by taking the national championship. He said he could fight anybody, but he wanted the best, or to be the best, national champion that there's ever been. There haven't been very many national champions to begin with, so that shouldn't be too difficult. Tony Schiavone. This was the funniest moment on the entire show. Tony Schiavone then informs Andrade that there is going to be a casino gauntlet match, which I think we all knew, but there's going to be a casino gauntlet match at All In, with the winner earning themselves a guaranteed shot at the AEW World Championship. And next week, in Andrade's hometown of Mexico, yes, his hometown of Mexico. I didn't know that was the name of the town, but evidently it is, according to Tony Schiavone. There would be a qualifying match to determine who will enter the gauntlet in the number one spot, which is, of course, is a very desirable spot because these gauntlets only go until the first fall. It's one fall to a finish. So if Andrade is number one, he could beat number two in the first 60 seconds of the match. And that's it. We're done. So you want to be number one. You want to be number two. So they're going to have a qualifying match, I guess, at Arena Mexico next week. And he says, is that something that you would like? Andrade then tells him, I only have one question. And before he could ask the obvious question, the entire crowd is chanting, how you know, how you know. And indeed, Andrade asked the question, how you know? And everybody, he's got a big smile on his face. He looks like he's having a blast out there. He's having a great run. I mean, there's really nothing else to say about it. He's having a great run. The fans are responding. He's having great matches. He seems to be genuinely enjoying himself. He's being featured consistently every single week. You couldn't say that about him the first time. I didn't know from one week to the next what the hell was going on with him. The first time he was in the company, I think at one point did Matt Hardy buy his group? Or what was the affiliation with Andrade's LFI and Matt Hardy? I don't fucking know. That first run was just a complete mess, and it's no wonder he wanted out. But this is a complete 180, and what he's doing right now is working, so when you have something that's working, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. And who knows, maybe one day he will win the world championship, but that's far down the road. As far as Andrade and the Casino Gauntlet, he's got to be an early favorite. I'm not saying he's my pick to win. I don't know who else is even going to be teased for this match, but could Andrade potentially be a winner? Sure. It's not like they have announced that so-and-so is going to be in the gauntlet, and you look at him and go, well, this guy's got no fucking chance of winning. He definitely has a chance. They've established he wants to go after the world title. This would be the easiest pathway for him. Someone said that's an awfully big town. I hear the town of Mexico is quite big. I don't have the exact population figure. Hometown of Mexico. Renee was in the back with Don Callis and the family. She said the family has lost some matches lately. Kyle Fletcher says that he doesn't know what she's talking about because unlike someone else, and Kevin Knight was right there, he won his title match at Redemption. Callis says he hopes Kevin Knight learned a valuable lesson when it comes to him not needing the family's help. And Knight says, look, it sucks that, he lost, but he went toe-to-toe with one of the best in the sport, and it won't be the last time they see him in the main event. So he's taunting Fletcher by telling him, he goes, he's tied, 1-1 with Speedball. Fletcher is. And next week, he sure hopes that Fletcher retains his international title because it's going to be Kyle Fletcher defending against Speedball Mike Bailey at Arena Mexico next week because Grand Slam is next Wednesday. Clint says Grand Slam Mexico will be 14,000. Is that the attendance? I haven't actually seen any attendance figures now that I think about it for the Arena Mexico show next week. Are they up to 14,000? Where are you seeing that? I haven't seen anything on WrestleTix. That was one of the most fun shows that they did last year. And the heat in the building was off the chart. I think that was the night that Hangman came out and cut that promo in Spanish. If the atmosphere is anything like that next week, and I'm sure it will be, that show's going to be a lot of fun. But I haven't seen the actual attendance figure. So Kyle says, look, I'm not afraid of Speedball, and the international title will always stay in the family. And as he says that, Kazuchika Okada, he walks in from behind, big smile on his face, and he tells Kevin Knight, Kyle's right. The international title is going to be staying with the family. And he walks away. And Kyle shot him a look, kind of a confused look, but also not a very happy look. And that is what they call foreshadowing. It is foreshadowing for the inevitable three-way that we are going to get in London. We had the Don Callis family, Kyle Fletcher, Brian Cage, and Jake Doyle taking on Speedball Mike Bailey, Brody King, and Bandito in a six-man tag. All right, so Pseudo says 5,600. That's a far cry from 14,000. That's why I was questioning that number. 5,600 plus general audience. Yeah, I mean, it'll be more than 5,600 by the time next week rolls around, but I don't know if it's going to be 14,000. I don't know about that. What did they have last year? Somebody look it up. Go to Grand Slam Mexico 2025 wiki. See if it has an attendance listed. Anyway, here, Bandito was isolated through a commercial break before finally he tagged in Brody King. Brian Cage, he spun out of a gonzo bomb attempt. King, though, threw a hard lariat. We had a double down. Doyle and Bandito, they were legal, and Bandito, he lifted the big guy up for a press slam. He followed up with a splash. Doyle, though, rolled through on the splash and then dropped him with a hard body slam. So later on, Doyle, he was setting up Bandito in the corner for a pile driver. I don't know why he was so close to the corner, but he's basically in the corner with him and he's setting him up for a pile driver. He did not see Speedball, who was on the apron right there, reach in and tag Bandito. So he got the blind tag. He climbs up top and he comes down with the ultimate weapon, the double knees, right to the small of the back of Jake Doyle. And he followed up with a sunset flip with the arms trapped and he got the pin. Because that's Jake Doyle's role in the Don Callis family, is to eat the pin. And so he did. And the babyfaces pick up the win. Kyle Fletcher, he tried to make the save at the last minute. He didn't make it in time, and he was not very happy about that. So this was not as good as the opener. Solid stuff, though, still. I hope, here's my hope. When it comes to Bandito, here's my hope. My hope is that we get to see more of him with Brody King. Let's see more of Brodito. in the tag team division, because I'm sick and tired of Bandito being put in these big matches and just being fed to people. Right? It's always fun to watch him. And honestly, I could sit here and talk about, well, he's the Ring of Honor World Champion, and so why would you put him in these matches where he's constantly losing? Nobody gives a fuck about the Ring of Honor World title, not least of which is Tony Khan. Because if Tony Khan gave a fuck about the Ring of Honor World title, he would not be beating the Ring of Honor World Champion constantly. So rather than see him just be fed to people in these big matches and inevitably lose, like he did to Moxley, like he did this past week, let's see these two back together, because Brodito was a fun team. Brodito was one of those revelations from last year where they put these two guys together. It's a tag team that you would never expect, and they just gelled so well, right? Because they're friends, they have chemistry together. They're a great tag team. And they got some new tag teams probably on their way in. There's going to be another tag team renaissance, it feels like, here in AEW very soon. Feels like we're kind of there now, but even more so as new teams are brought in. I'd like to see him doing more of that, especially if Tony doesn't have anything better for him to do. Speedball winning here, though, made sense. Gives him the momentum now going into a title match next week against Fletcher. Speaking of the tag teams, we had our first bit of hype for one of the key matches on the All in London card, a pre-recorded sit-down interview between the two teams that are going to be wrestling for the AEW Tag Team Championship. Cope and Christian, and the challengers, the Young Bucks. Renee says that the term dream match is thrown around all the time, but this is the top of that mountain. Nick Jackson says that he's a little bit nervous about this. He can now make plans for England for his family. They're both going to bring their families, their kids. They're all going to make a big vacation out of it. He says they appreciate what Cage and Cope have done for tag team wrestling. Copeland says, look, don't sell yourselves short, because you guys revolutionized tag team wrestling. If you don't say it, we will. Copeland says that this match proves that tag team wrestling is back to the forefront, whereas in other places, it has been pushed into the back burner or pushed to the back burner. Can I get an amen? Ain't that the truth? No lies detected in that statement. Christian interrupted. He said that they didn't come back to have a retirement tour. They set out to prove that they were the best team of any generation. Matt Jackson piped up. He said that they've been clawing their way back from rock bottom. They need to cement their legacy and win those titles for a fourth time. Copeland pointed out that between the two of them, him and Christian, they lost 17 years of their careers to injuries. It's been 25 years before this since they were tag team champions together. That's a quarter of a century. Matt said, look, they're going to be more aggressive than they've ever been before. It's not going to be like Kobe Bryant at the end of his career putting up 60 points. They would be lucky to get on the board. Christian said it would be different than they thought when the lights were bright and they were across the ring from their heroes. Are they going to be able to elevate their game like they always do? So Renee asks, why would this mean so much to Cope and Cage? And Copeland said, look, despite everything they've done, there's still this doubt. Matt Jackson said there's always a chip on their shoulder, always told they were too small, you don't have the machine behind them, you're this, you're that, too many super kicks, which is true. Cope and Cage might be bigger, but they're the Young Bucks. And they wound down the promo. It was all very straightforward here. Both teams had a chance to say their piece. Things didn't get too testy between them, but this is the first, right? This is the first real promo between these two teams. They've got 4 or 5 weeks, whatever it is now, between now and All In. I still think there's a chance they're going to add at least one more team to this match. I don't think they need to. Like, this is the match. First time ever. Cope and Christian and the Bucks, I would keep it as is. But I'm just saying, I would not be surprised if Tony wanted to add another 1 or 2 teams to this match. And there's still several weeks to do that. We had the new TBS champion, Maya World. Her first title defense against the CMLL women's champion, Persephone, who I would have liked to have seen win that survival of the fittest match at the beginning of the month to win the title. Either her or Queen Aminata. They went with Hikaru Shida. Shida lost her championship to Maya World on Sunday. A lot of people didn't seem to really like the match. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you it was a great match or even a very good match, because it wasn't. Something about Shida that's off. She's not the same as she was before she came back. Slower, more tentative. The match itself, though, I didn't think was as bad as some people made it out to be. And the thing that I was happy with the most is that Tony Khan didn't just put Maya World, back down the card or on the back burner or relegate her to Ring of Honor. She's being featured on the shows. And now she has a championship. And she's being featured in a prominent way, right? She's on Dynamite. There are people who are on that roster who would kill to be on Dynamite because they never are. So she's in a good spot. Hopefully, that will continue. And so now we have her defending against Persephone. When I saw that this match was announced, I was like, he wouldn't do it, would he? Like, they're in Mexico next week. Persephone is the CMLL Women's World Champion. Why is he doing this match on this show? Is he going to take the title away from Maya this quickly? Like, I don't know that I honestly thought he would, but in the back of my mind, I was like, I wonder if her reign is going to be cut short. Thankfully, that was not the case. Persephone is someone who also I would not be beating her too often. I don't want to see him make a habit out of this. I'm a big fan of her work, and I think she's very good, not just in the ring, but even on promos. She's got an intensity about her that not everybody has. So I'd like to see her featured more prominently, honestly. It's just funny to me, she's the world champion in CMLL. And if the shoe was on the other foot, there's no way Tony Khan would have his champion losing, just almost like it's just such a casual thing, too. It wasn't even like that big of a deal. But I don't think if the shoe was on the other foot that you would be seeing this. But here we go. We have these two in the ring together. Persephone locks on a half crab and then an ankle lock. Maya got a rope break. So the challenger fought out of the bridging fall-away slam into one of her own. Sent Maya outside where she met her with a tope. Maya avoided a power bomb, countered that into a tornado DDT. After which they headed back to the ring. Persephone had a Rainmaker variation that turned Maya inside out. And then a German. Maya kicked out. Persephone freaked out on Aubrey Edwards. She's also very animated. Like in the course of a match, when she gets very frustrated, she gets very animated. She gets very very expressive. So she was not happy. Hikaru Shida ran out with her kendo stick. Never leaves home without it. She tossed the kendo stick to Persephone, and then she was distracting Aubrey. Before Persephone could swing the stick, though, Chris Statlander magically appeared at ringside on the apron. She grabbed the stick away from her, and then as Persephone turned back around, she turned into the same bridging fall-away slam that Maya used to win the world title on Sunday, and she retained the championship. And then after the match, Statlander raised Maya's hand. Persephone was sitting on the floor outside. She was absolutely livid. And if you remember what happened at the end of that survival of the fittest match, it looked like they were setting up something with Persephone and Statlander. Here we are now all these weeks later, and hopefully now they're finally getting around to really juicing this thing up here. So based on what they did here at the finish, I would imagine Persephone is not going to be too happy about Chris Statlander getting involved in her business. Feels like this is setting up a tag team match. Did they announce anything? Maybe they put a graphic up for it. If they didn't, I'm sure we're going to get it at some point. Shida and Persephone against Maya and Statlander. It just seems inevitable. Unless they've already announced it for Collision tomorrow. I don't know if they have or not. But I could have done without the interference at the end. If it was done to set up a tag team match, then fine. I'm just saying I could have done without it. But yeah, I wasn't convinced that he wasn't going to take the title off Maya. I don't know. I saw that. I'm like, If he was going to put the belt on Persephone, then he would have done it on July 1st. Maybe a tag match in Mexico. Could be. That would make sense. If they have not announced anything for Collision tomorrow with them, then that might be the match next week. We had the former national champion Mark Davis. I was actually very happy to see him get promo time on this show because my fear was coming out of his loss to Andrade on Sunday. It was like, to the background with you, Mark Davis. You're going to be relegated into the background of these Don Callis family promo segments in the back. And maybe they'll put him together again with Jake Doyle, and they may still do that. But they actually gave him promo time. He was standing by himself, didn't even have Callis with him. He was in like a stairwell in the back. And he said that he's 10 pounds lighter because he has no national title around his waist. That makes him furious. He needs to do something about it. He said, hey, Mr. Number One Contender, Will Ospreay. Our record this year shows us as 1-1, but Ospreay's win, he says, came with an asterisk next to it, courtesy of the Death Riders. So how about next week at Grand Slam Mexico? He leaves Don Callis at home, and the two of them step into the ring. He said he's going to chew him up and spit him out, broken, out back at Arena Mexico. You know, their last match was in the Owen. And it's one of my favorite TV matches of the year. Overbooked as it was. Everybody was running in at the end. Everybody. But they had this like electric atmosphere in the building. There was a lot of craziness there, a lot of near falls and such towards the end of that match. But it was a lot of fun. So you put those two in the ring together in the middle of a hot Arena Mexico next week. I don't mean just literally hot, but like it's going to be loud in that building. That's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to that. Willow Nightingale's championship celebration was up next. And this right here was my favorite part of the entire show. I think it was the best part of the entire show. Renee was in the ring to introduce us to the brand new AEW Women's World Champion with her win over Tekla, who was not on the show tonight. So Willow Nightingale came out to the ring and they shot streamers all over the place for her. Huge ovation. Huge standing ovation for this woman here in Detroit. She was practically in tears. She was getting very emotional in the ring. It's not very often that someone will come out on these AEW shows and get this kind of response. And I don't remember Willow herself even getting this kind of sustained response before. They were very happy for her that she made it to the top of the mountain and she's the champion now. And what's not to like? She's the most likable personality on the entire show. So she was kind of taken aback at first by the reaction. She says this is all still very surreal. This is what people dream about. She's grateful that they've been with her despite there being doubters along the way. People would look at her as being too quirky and too chubby or weird, and they just wouldn't get it. But over the past year, she's apparently made the fans very happy. This past year, she's become one half of the first ever women's tag team champions, beat Mercedes Moné for the TBS title, got hurt, but what pulled her out of a dark place was her mom, who calls her a warrior princess and told her that she could stay down or you can get up and fight. She fought to get into the casino gauntlet. She beat a toxic champion in Tekla to win the big one. And she has a message for all of the fans out there. If life has kicked you around, don't you dare give up. Keep fighting and pushing through because sometimes the comeback is even better than the dream. And she held up the title and everybody cheered. So she got cut off by Mercedes Moné's music. Massive boos for Mercedes. Walks out with a contract in her hand. And she demands that Willow sign the contract for All In. Willow signs it right on Mercedes' chest. And Mercedes then pie-faced her, so they got nose-to-nose briefly, and then Renee made the announcement and said, well, it's official. At All In, it will be Willow Nightingale defending the championship against Mercedes Moné. And Willow says, look, what's your problem today, right? Someone else got some attention for 5 seconds and took the attention away from you? Or is it because that you remember I beat you to end your TBS title reign? She thinks that it's, now she has the one championship that Mercedes can't win. And this bothers her. So Mercedes said, look, what she hates the most about Willow, it's not her smile, it's not the fact that people love her. It's that Willow's name is written all over her own story. And she talked about getting injured the first time they stepped in the ring together. She lost her TBS championship to Willow, and now Willow once again stands in her way. So she said that she was tired of her smiling face being in her face, and she would end her fairy tale at All In. She took credit for making her. She said that she gave her the greatest moment of her entire career, and she would take her title and her smile at All In. Divine Dominion showed up, the women's tag team champions. They showed up on the apron, surrounded the ring, 3-on-1. Willow got some shots in, though, but I think Mercedes clipped her knee, I believe. And she got put down. Willow did by a double choke slam from the tag champs. Out come the Brawling Birds, Jamie Hayter and Alex Windsor, to chase off the heels, and that is how the segment came to an end. And that match is not official yet, but that's going to be another match, obviously, for All In. I think many of us have seen this coming for at least 2 or 3 months now, that at Wembley, it was going to be Jamie and Alex challenging for and winning the women's tag team titles from Megan Bayne and Alina Cross. And that makes sense. If you're going to do it, that is the place to do it. Makes all the sense in the world. In the meantime, you've had Lena and Megan going out there and destroying people. They are one of the more dominant acts in the entire company. And I said this on Sunday, when they were out there for their match, that just aesthetically, when you see them and the presentation with the, they're on either side of the Tron, like the big screens during their entrance, they each say a word or they say a quote or whatever, and then they walk out together and they're posing together. It's a superstar entrance. It's a good act that the two of them have. But at some point, you get so dominant, it's like, okay, well, who are you setting up to, finally take them down? There you go. That's your team right there. There's your match. You don't have to add anybody else. Divine Dominion, Brawling Birds. Make it official. We haven't gotten the graphic yet from Tony Khan. Make it official. As far as this segment goes, Willow Nightingale cut the best babyface promo that I've heard in AEW in a very long time. She's a natural babyface, naturally likable. That's why the fans, root for her and they're happy to see her win the championship. She had the advice for the fans: don't ever give up, don't ever let people kick you around, right? Classic babyface promo. Mercedes comes out, gets great heat. Now, this is only 1 week. It's one city. We'll see where things stand in a few weeks. If they put them back in the ring, is the heat still there for Mercedes? Are they going to be in the ring together in some capacity in Mexico next week? Are they going to be on the show next week, at Arena Mexico? It may differ from, city to city, but this was, in my opinion, the perfect crowd for this type of segment, because you want people to be making noise. The match just comes off as so much of a bigger deal. Like they're invested in it. You have a genuinely likable babyface. They don't want to see her lose. They don't want to see her be a transitional champion. To them, the worst thing would be she just won the belt and you're going to take it from her. And Mercedes is going to get it. They don't want to see that, right? So that's why I said coming into this, some people were very upset. Oh, they're going to beat Tekla. It's not fair. Tekla belongs in that match. Tekla's done a great job this year. Tekla had 160-something days as the champion. It's not like she got jobbed out in a month. And I hope they have another good role for her at All In, because she deserves to be on that show. But this was the correct outcome here. The match to do, the big match to do, even though it's been done before, is Mercedes and Willow. And everybody who was saying that Mercedes is going to win, I don't think so. I don't. Again, as I sit here right now, I still feel the way I felt on Sunday. Don't just assume that because she lost last time or because Willow has beaten her before, that she's automatically going to win the championship. I agree with you, by the way. If you're one of those people who are like, you're out of your fucking mind, everything is set up to lead you to believe that Mercedes is going to win the title in London. She won the Owen last year. She went to All In. She fucking lost. 500 and something days as TBS champion, or maybe 600 something days. Who ended it? Willow. Yes, Willow. So you would think Mercedes is finally going to get her revenge. I'm not so sure. I'm not convinced. I hope not. Willow deserves to be more than just a transitional champion. The comeback story. You told the comeback story. The redemption arc of Willow Nightingale. Injured, out, stripped, back, wins the gauntlet, wins the big one. To turn around and take it away from her? Why? Why would you do that? I wouldn't do that. Jon Moxley and Commander for the Continental Championship. Commander's another one, as Perry and Nick Wayne were earlier, who lost in the ladder match on Sunday, but walked right into another title match here tonight for reasons. Commander is a lot of fun to watch. He never wins any big matches on these shows. We got a 10-minute time call from Justin Roberts with Moxley in the corner. He was punching and biting him. Commander, though, slid out, and he hung Moxley over the top rope and then hit a guillotine leg drop to the back of the neck. This was the worst part of this entire thing. So after he does the guillotine spot and they end up outside on the floor, Commander rushes back into the ring, right? Sprints back inside because he's going to go set up for a springboard move. Moxley follows him back into the ring. So Moxley rolls inside, but then inexplicably, Jon Moxley rolls over and gives his body to Commander so he can hit his springboard 450 splash. And believe it or not, this was only the second worst 450 splash spot that I have seen on an AEW show this week. It's still not as bad as what I saw in that Young Bucks match with Moxley and Ospreay at Redemption. That was fucking awful. With Nick Jackson just no-selling a 450 splash to go right into the next spot like it's nothing. But it was just the most hilarious thing because, again, Moxley, he slides in and then literally just turns over and lays there and looks up at him like, okay, I'm ready. Can I ask a favor? Can we at least attempt to make these types of spots look natural? Obviously, the spot was that you were going to be on the receiving end of a 450 splash. Okay, fine. There has to be a better way to set something like this up where it does not look so overly fake and contrived. There has to be. The second time now, in just the last few days, that I have seen a 450 splash spot that wanted to make me just fucking bang my head on this desk. These are not rookies in these matches. This is the fucking Young Bucks. Jon Moxley. What are we doing? Come on, man. Come on. I mean, I know wrestling is what wrestling is, but come on, can we make it not look as fake, please? Can we at least try? Commander went for his rope walk, shooting star press. Moxley moved, hit a curb stomp, Death Rider, and then sank in the rear naked choke, and Commander tapped out. Not much else to say about it. Another Jon Moxley title defense out of nowhere. Another win. No real surprise. We go backstage. Yeah, yes, 450s are ineffective in AEW. Well, we already knew that. I'm not even talking about how ineffective they are. I'm just talking about either the setup of it, the reaction to it. It's comical. It's comical. Mick Foley was, speaking of comical, Mick Foley was backstage. At least he wasn't barking like a dog and going bow wow on this show. He was backstage with the Bang Bang Gang. There was somebody noticeably absent here. His name is Jay White, and I thought, oh no, don't tell me he's already injured again. Ace Austin said they had big problems. And actually, they did mention that Jay White was not there because he was still reeling from the end of the chain match at Redemption. Colton Gunn said that they've been screwed by the Dogs and the Death Riders. Juice Robinson issued a challenge to any combination of those two groups. Not that I didn't know that this was going to continue based on the finish of the match on Sunday, but I'm ready to move beyond this. Let's just get the inevitable Jay White, David Finlay match, and then we can move beyond this. Assuming Jay White is okay. He did almost get killed on Sunday. He narrowly escaped with his life. We had the conglomeration defending their AEW Trios titles against Ricochet and the Gates of Agony. They started this match right at the top of the hour, and we still had a Kenny Omega segment yet to come. So I knew this show was going long when I saw that. But it's the conglomeration, and it's the demand, and it's already 10 p.m., so it was hard to really bring myself to care much about this. Cassidy tagged in late. He applied a ridiculous-looking claw hold to Ricochet's head. The Lethal Twist showed up. Blake Christian, he blasted Cassidy in the head with a springboard belt shot. Ricochet then followed with the Spirit Gun. He got the pin to win the titles. Yes, we have new trios tag team champions. Ricochet, Toa Leona, and Bishop Kaun. So the demand and the Lethal Twist, they put the boots to the conglomeration until Brody King ran out to the ring to make the save. He was overwhelmed. Hangman Adam Page's music hits. And he walks out and he's got a barbed wire, a chair wrapped in barbed wire. So the heels bailed. Jay Lethal, he tried to sneak in and grab the chair and he pricked himself, I guess, on the barbed wire. So he's selling his finger now. Meanwhile, Hangman goes to the apron. And he sets up for the first buckshot lariat that we have seen, I guess, since Revolution. And it was picture perfect, unlike whenever Logan Paul attempts to do it. Thankfully, I haven't seen Logan Paul, even before he got hurt. I haven't seen him attempt this move in a while, and I think he should probably leave that to the pros. So he drops Lethal with the buckshot, and that was the end of that. We have new trios champions. Whatever. That's my attitude about it. I mean, I can't really bring myself to care about the trios belts all that much. Moving them from the conglomeration to the demand, to me, it's a lateral move. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really mean much. Where Hangman fits into this, I don't know. Maybe they're setting up for a Hangman Ricochet match. I don't know. I don't know. But again, Hangman can do whatever he wants, man. He's got plenty of titles to choose from. You want to go after the trios belts? Find two partners. He actually had two partners previously. Kevin Knight and Speedball. Remember? They wanted to call themselves Horsecock. I forgot whose idea. I think that might have been was that a Hangman idea or a Speedball? Might have been a Speedball idea. And then the other guy shot it down. So then they settled on Jet Set Rodeo. Jet Set Rodeo is better than Horsecock. But he can go after the trios belts. He can go after the international belt, the national title. Hangman and Andrade. Whoa, there's a match for you. Outside the arena. Again, we're in overrun territory here. We go outside the arena. The Death Riders answer the challenge from the Bang Bang Gang for a collision tomorrow night. Daniel Garcia then called out Will Ospreay for a match because he got bitched earlier. He got bitched out earlier. I was going to say bitch slapped. It was more like a fucking forearm or an elbow. So now we're getting a singles match tomorrow night between Ospreay and Daniel Garcia. Moxley complained about the morality police taking issue with the way they do things. He said what he loves about the Continental Championship is that it's just about what's in your head and what's in your heart. He mentioned there being a Continental Cup to, I guess, determine his challenger for All In. If his title reign ends in a hail of bullets, so be it. He's willing to accept that. That would be a hell of a way for his run to come to an end. If after all this time that he's been the Continental Champion, the only thing that could take down Jon Moxley in a match is just a hail of bullets. The way some of these plunder and garbage matches are going in this company, I don't think we're too far away from it. We just had Chris Jericho beat Tommaso Ciampa on Sunday with a fucking power drill. How long before we see gunfire or knives in one of these matches? We've had syringes, we've had pyro explosions, we've had barbed wire, we've had broken glass, we've had staple guns. We've had everything you could possibly think of except what I just mentioned. That's the next step. It's inevitable at this point. Jon Moxley he goes down in a hail of bullets and finally loses his title. And again, this Continental Cup, I don't fucking know. There was no discussion about it. There was nothing. There was a fleeting mention by Jon Moxley, so I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to do with this. We need more information on how this is going to work, who's going to be involved. Beyond that, we don't know anything. And then to close out the show, we had Tony Schiavone in the ring, finally, to introduce the AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega. All cheers for Omega, by the way. No boos. Just given the way things ended on Sunday, I was wondering if it might be more of a mixed reaction, but all cheers for Omega. He barely got any words out before Will Ospreay's music hit and the challenger headed to the ring. And Omega said, it's fine, cut the music. Let's make it fun. As they did in kindergarten, show and tell. He said at Redemption, actually, I think he said the kindergarten. He said it in a very weird way. Kind of like when he was talking about MJF a few weeks ago and he couldn't say the name Maxwell. I'll never get over that. Called him like Maxib. It's different things that Kenny Omega apparently is unable to say. Said at Redemption, he showed Ospreay how he felt, and it didn't matter if the fans in the moment misunderstood. He thought Ospreay would get it. Maybe they move on to the tell part of show and tell. Omega said Ospreay means the world to him, and he brought up the promise that they made to one another to try their best to win the big one, win the world title. Every time Omega put friendship before the belt, 100% of the time. Because let's face it, the whole reason that he let Ospreay enter the Owen Hart tournament is to see him have success on his own. But how did he repay Kenny? He told Kenny that it really sucks that Kenny gave up on himself. Does it look like I've given up? And he holds up the championship and everybody cheers. Ospreay will never be one to talk down to him again. And even though he gave him plenty of warnings about Jon Moxley and the Death Riders, what's his excuse now that it blew up in his face? So Ospreay said that he came back too early from neck surgery because he came back for revenge. And when he finally thought he had it, it slipped through his fingers. And in that moment, he had no friends that he could turn to. No Kyle, no Davis, no Callum Newman, no Kenny Omega. But who saved him? The guy who took away his old life. The guy he had so much hatred for. The guy who gave him an opportunity. Ospreay didn't see the guy who broke his neck. He saw the former 4-time champion who could take him to where he needed to be. If Omega wants honesty, Ospreay liked being a Death Rider. He liked it. He liked the camaraderie. He liked the training. He liked feeling like he did back when he was in Japan with a bunch of killers watching his back. He understood why they're so protective of this place. But that's where it ends. Says he doesn't share their philosophy. When he saw Omega when Ospreay saw Omega with a chair wrapped around his neck, the same thing the Death Riders did to him. He couldn't stand by and watch someone he loves go through what he went through. So Omega says he remembers on Sunday after the match, he got beat up for minutes. It felt like hours. Feeling that chair around his neck, no energy to fight back. All he could do was close his eyes and accept his fate, which is when he heard the cheers. And somehow he knew that Ospreay was there to save him. But when the minutes felt like an eternity, he took the chair off himself. He stood up, and there Will Ospreay was, holding Omega's championship. And the reason it took Ospreay so long to help was because he even contemplated using the plastic bag to begin with. Now this is where, again, this felt forced to me. And I pointed this out on TNT last night and Uncrowned. If you watch back that closing segment on the pay-per-view on Sunday, Kenny Omega is down, and Kenny Omega is not looking at anything that's going on in the ring. He's facing in the opposite direction. So when Will Ospreay is handed the plastic bag by Jon Moxley, and he's standing there and he's looking at it very intensely and he's shaky, literally shaking, and contemplating, what he's going to do. And then ultimately he makes the right decision, right? He's not going to kill his friend, and he opts to attack the Death Riders. Omega didn't see any of this. Omega didn't see any of it. How does he know? They're trying to explain it here in this segment, and it's so forced to me. And so that's the thing. If they would have just handled that segment a little bit different on Sunday, where he actually could see what was going on, he's down in the corner or something, then I might look at it a little bit differently. But the way he's explaining it and getting even on Sunday when he got all upset and everything, he's holding the plastic bag in his hand after he dropped Ospreay on his head. He's like, he's pointing to the bag. I'm like, yeah, but how does he know? He sees a ripped up plastic bag on the floor and he assumes, well, boy, you were thinking about doing it, weren't you? How you know? How you know? He doesn't, because he didn't see it. Omega slapped him in the face, said, I thought you were my friend. He sounded like Batista with Rey Mysterio. I thought you were my friend, he said. Ospreay said, I was your friend. Omega then asks, well, what am I to you now? And he kept on slapping him. He slapped him again and again. And as he went to go slap him one more time, Ospreay returned the favor and knocked him down on his ass. And then he backed up and he teased the hidden blade. And when Omega turned around, Ospreay stopped short. And so now Kenny is down on the mat on his ass. He rolls out of the ring to the ramp like a heel to bail and get the hell out of there. Ospreay now has the ring all to himself. And he says, no matter how much he loves Omega, if he puts his hands on him, he'll kick the shit out of him. And everybody cheered. Since day one, Ospreay reminded the fans while Omega was gone that this is where the best wrestle. And he's earned his spot to challenge for that world title. Standing before him is the biggest mountain that he's been wanting to climb for 10 years. As winners want the ball, right? The ace wants the ball. Ospreay wants the ball. 90 minutes are done. Extra time is done. They're into penalties now. And it's his turn to kick the ball. Ospreay has an entire country depending on him or entire hometown, as Tony Schiavone would say. He's got an entire country on his side to bring this thing home. They're all asking if he can pull the trigger. Says, you're damn right I can pull the trigger. But he won't do it from behind like Omega did or like how Moxley wanted him to. He's pulling the trigger when it matters the most, when the title is on the line, and Omega is going to see it coming. It's like CM Punk with Cody Rhodes. Like, told Cody, see, I told you a long time ago, I'm not going to stab you in the back. I'm going to stab you in the front. There's a lot of parallels here between these two stories that are going on heading into SummerSlam this weekend and then All In. So as far as this segment, it was very long. And again, there was no reason for this show to go 35 minutes overtime, okay? There's like an overrun, and then there's whatever the fuck this was. And I look back at the show, you could pick different segments that could have been cut from the show to get you to maybe a 5 or 10 minute overrun. They didn't need to go to 10:35. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. That being said, I thought it was good. I was not as much a fan of Kenny's promo as I was Ospreay's. I liked Ospreay's promo. And I liked the fire from him there at the end. He looked like somebody who was locked the fuck in. And the world championship is the most important thing in the world to him. And no more of this, like, I love you stuff. I respect you. It's like, okay, you don't think I can do it. You don't think I can drop the kill shot. You don't think I can be that guy. Okay, you'll find out. You'll find out at Wembley. Kenny's out there and he just, again, his promos, it's just very hit or miss. And then some of the stuff here was very forced coming out of that angle from Sunday because that's not how it really came off if you watch the segment on Sunday. But I'm glad that we are kind of moving in the direction of like, okay, these two, they don't like each other now. What's going to happen? What other incidents are there going to be between these two? Is there going to be a big pull apart brawl? Are they going to be part of the same match? Can they coexist? I mean, you can go through all the usual tropes. I mean, look, at some point we'll probably get something like that. You got to keep things interesting, right? You still got many more weeks left to go. But this was a strong start. I'm just happy they were on the show and they didn't just close with the fucking demand against the conglomeration. Imagine if they just went off the air with that. We have new trios champions, the demand now, or the trios champions. Who gives a shit? I want to see the men who were in the main event of the pay-per-view that are coming up. And that's what we got. Kenny came on very heelish towards the end of this segment. Very interesting how he walked into total cheers. By the end there, I don't want to say he was getting booed, but Ospreay was getting the cheers. And the way Kenny rolled out and everything, and the way he was acting, he came off very heelish. I don't know if that's a sign that this is how they're going to position the two of them as we head into London, or they may just kind of have Kenny like straddle the line a little bit. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but on the whole, I liked the show. You know, I could pick the parts that I didn't like, but as compared to so many of these post pay-per-view episodes of Dynamite, this one felt like, okay, we got the key players are here and they're being featured, and we got some strong promo work to highlight the big matches that we know so far. We still don't know where a lot of other people are going to be slotted in on this card. Hangman, right? He's back. What's he going to be doing? Is he going to be in the gauntlet? Do the rules prevent him from being able to take part in the Casino Gauntlet? I would think they would. We're going to need a little clarification on that from Tony Khan. So what's Hangman going to be doing? Is MJF going to be healthy, back in time for the show? It certainly feels to me like the match for him at All In is going to be Andrade. Andrade still has the Dynamite Diamond ring. He's talking about, he's smiling. I got your ring. I screwed you. I got your ring. And unfortunately, they're not going to be doing the match at Arena Mexico next week. But we have to be getting MJF and Andrade, and I'm just thinking All In is what would make the most sense. Have they not announced, by the way, a match for Andrade? Oh, they have, right? He's going to be in that qualifying match next week. Okay. We just don't know who it's going to be against. Yeah, because I was going to say, to not announce a match for him for Arena Mexico in advance next week is crazy to me. But I guess we just don't know who the opponent is going to be yet. Maybe we'll find out tomorrow night. But anyway, good start here on the kickoff to this road to Wembley. Let me go through your super chats here. If you have any questions, this would be a good time to get them on in, and any thoughts you may have on tonight's episode of Dynamite. We'll start with Death Scythe. Hey, Death Scythe, are you on death ground? John Moxley says Will Ospreay is operating on death ground. I think Death Scythe is it's on death ground every week. Yeah, Roderick makes a very interesting point here. He goes, Hangman said his world title ban was not put on paper. That is true. There's no actual contract that he's being held to. He says, you once said that the Wyatt Six's gimmick had a shelf life. Can the same be said for Danhausen? Yes. Every gimmick like that has a shelf life. Joe Hendry, Danhausen. I guess R-Truth is sort of, I mean, I've grown tired of some of his shtick. Not that I don't want him there. I just wish he was doing something different. But he's kind of timeless in many ways. But so many of these, especially comedy gimmicks, with some exceptions, and then you have other gimmicks like supernatural type stuff, they all have a shelf life. Also, if WWE's goal on Monday was to get me to turn against Danhausen, well, mission accomplished, because Danhausen has officially jumped the shark. Uh-oh. And for that, brother, you are cursed. Give me backshots, Solomonster. Says, hey Solo, Mariah Carey might be behind this account. How the mighty have fallen if she is. Dry Chicken says, every time I see these baddies in the crowd or with Andrade, my jacuzzi turns ice cold. I was going to say, you could use a cold shower there, brother. So the title doesn't make the man makes the title. That's a WWE philosophy. I still believe in the title makes the man philosophy in wrestling. Well, you may believe in that, but that's not how it's supposed to work. The title is a prop on the show. The title is what you make of it. And really, at the end of the day, you're not pushing the title. You're pushing the talent. You want people are not necessarily going to buy a ticket to a show for the title. I mean, you can put the title on anybody. Doesn't mean people are going to buy a ticket to go to the show to see whoever the champion is. When Jack Swagger was the World Heavyweight Champion, I promise you, not a single person was buying a ticket to go see Jack Swagger defend the world title. Or Jinder Mahal defend the WWE Championship, okay? That wasn't happening. It comes down to the talent, the man, the woman. Who are they? Are you invested in them? You're going to push them. Are they getting over? If they get over, by getting over, they, in effect, will help elevate the world title to the status that you want it to be at. It's not supposed to be the title makes the man. It's supposed to be the man makes the title. That's what I believe. Says that Will Ospreay promo tonight was fire. It was. It was good. We need to give love to Hangman, Moxley, Swerve, Mark Davis, and Kenny Omega for being part of Ospreay's story for the world title. Always give credit to Mark Davis. Says this won't be a prediction. WWE could be tempted to give Brock Lesnar another win against Obafemi. Yeah, that's not happening. Says Io Sky should defeat Liv Morgan, but creative could be tempted to keep the women's title on Liv. I love how you're taking a 50-50 approach on all of this. So you can't be wrong. Well, they should do this, but I think they'll do this. And they may be tempted to do this, but maybe they'll do this. It's like years ago. I don't remember who it was. Somebody sent in a super chat. This was leading into the G1. And they were like, my picks to win the G1, and they named like whatever, the one or two people they thought were going to win. And then and my dark horse picks are this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, or this guy. I'm like, why don't you just name everybody in the whole fucking tournament? That's not how this is supposed to work. You have a pick, and then you could pick a dark horse, but you can't pick 6 or 7 people. That doesn't count. You can't do that. That's not allowed. Barry with the $14 super chat. How about it? What if Liv helps Danhausen beat Dom? And then on Raw, she'll say that she did it because Danhausen has more monies. So she's a gold digger. Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that. You're advocating for more Danhausen. Do you realize what you're doing, Barry? You're doing the opposite of what they should be doing. I can't get behind that. Daryl Strawberry is with us. Have you ever eaten Ethiopian food? It's really good, and their women are very pretty. Also, Seth Rollins looks like Bryce Harper to me. He does. Who is the baseball player? Jason Worth? who looks like Adam one of them looks like Adam Copeland. I think it's Jason Worth. Have I ever eaten Ethiopian food? I think I did once. It was so, if I did, if it's the cuisine that I'm remembering, and maybe it wasn't Ethiopian, but it was like, I was a lot younger. I was many, many years ago. And I just ended up having pita bread. I don't think I had anything else. I think I just literally ate pita bread. I don't remember if it was Ethiopian, though. Eritrean food. I wouldn't even be able to name any dishes, so... I mean, for all intents and purposes, I'll say no. I may have to try it, though, now that you've endorsed it. Liam with a 12. Incredible show tonight. Would have had my sound off sign again, but I hurt my back at work and my wife hurt her ankle on the stairs, so we needed all the chair space that we could get. Love the show, Solo. Well, I'm sorry that you guys are the walking wounded right now. I hope you feel better. But I appreciate the thought. There's always next time. In fact, I have a show tomorrow. If you're all healed up by tomorrow, maybe you can go tomorrow. Daryl Strawberry. What is the worst expressway between these four? The Van Wyck, the Cross Bronx, the Long Island, or the Brooklyn Queens Expressway? Van Wyck. The answer is the Van Wyck. See, even Keith Andrew Miller agrees with me. He probably doesn't even know what the Van Wyck is. Just take my word for it, brother. It is the worst. Love the Lord with a $10 super chat. I hope we see Athena versus Maya World for the TBS Championship at All in London. Best Wednesday night Dynamite since Beach Break? That I would agree with. Says, maybe we will see Rhino and Motor City Machine Guns tomorrow. Yeah, that's right. Rhino was being brought in, and then I heard nothing about Rhino actually being like in a dark match or anything like that. So very possible he will be at Collision tomorrow. And the Machine Guns as well. I think Rhino said he was hoping to do something with Cope and Christian. A lot of history with those three. I don't know if he's going to get that chance or not, but that's what he was hoping. Gold Matthew, Mount Rushmore of Samoans in terms of in-ring. I don't know. I've never thought about it. I don't really have a Mount Rushmore of Samoans. Yokozuna would be on there. Roman has to be on there. For the body of work he's put together. You don't even have to necessarily have Roman on your list as like your favorite wrestler. But you can't deny he's been part of a lot of killer matches over the years. Including one at WrestleMania this year. WrestleMania last year. WrestleMania 40. WrestleMania 39. That was an excellent match too. Until the finish. The guys had banger matches at 4 straight WrestleManias. That's not an accident. Even that last match he had with Brock at SummerSlam a few years ago, the last man standing match. So Roman is on there. I'd put Yoko on there. Rock would have to be on there. And who would be the fourth? I don't know. It's not the Yeet Man. I don't know who the fourth is. I have to think about that. Combat Theater. Actually, what about Umaga? How would you feel about Umaga being on that list? He had some good matches. Him and Jeff Hardy. That was a fun feud. Samoa Joe, of course. The word Samoa is literally in his name. Fuck! How could I forget Samoa Joe? I just talked about his Dark Side of the Ring episode last week. All right, so if we have to narrow it down to 4, we have Rock, we have Joe, Roman, Rock, Roman, Joe, and Yoko. I'm comfortable with that. Put them in whatever order you want to put them in. God, how did I leave off Samoa Joe? Combat Theater says, will you watch the new Spider-Man? And who is your favorite Spider-Man? I may eventually watch the new Spider-Man. I feel like I shouldn't, though. Just because I have a lot of catching up to do. When it comes to the MCU, if I want to get caught up before Avengers Doomsday in December. You guys gave me a lot of great feedback to that tweet that I put up last week. Unfortunately, I have like 22 films I think I'm supposed to be watching. I don't think that's going to happen. The last Spider-Man I saw was Tobey Maguire was still Spider-Man, so I'll go Tobey Maguire. I never saw any of the Andrew Garfield movies. I haven't seen any of the Tom Holland stuff. I don't really have a great frame of reference for it, you know, outside of Tobey Maguire. Isaac says, your thoughts on the Camp Crystal Lake trailer? I liked it. I remember first reading about that series being in development. I actually was copied on something. There was a gig that popped up for some background extras. And unfortunately, the casting call had just expired like the day before. Otherwise, I would have applied to be on the show as like a background, like extra. I mean, they may not have picked me, but I was like, man, I could have been on the show. Missed my chance. Maybe next time. And EJ Slime. 50 years ago today was Son of Sam's first murder. Says, you weren't born yet. Did you ever hear stories about him, the blackout, heat wave, or the 77 Yankees drama? Sure, I heard plenty of stories about it. Wasn't in the middle of it or anything like that. Saw the movie many years ago. But I didn't live it in the way that other people obviously, lived it in New York. It was a very scary time. We have EJ again. We've got our own Van Wyck in Chicago, the Dan Ryan and the Tri-State. The Tri-State alone is one of the many reasons why I avoid O'Hare like the plague. Really, it's the only airport I fly in and out of when I go to Chicago, is O'Hare. Well, at least it's not LA, where you can apparently walk out of your house and you could see the restaurant down the road that you want to go to. And it takes you 37 minutes to drive there. See, that to me, that would be hell on earth. If Luis was in the chat with us tonight, I would, because Luis is from LA, I would ask Luis for his personal perspective on that. LA traffic sounds like an absolute fucking nightmare. Solo, I'll never forget that rant you did on the Van Wyck when those birds, the fucking birds. The brawling birds. Yeah, don't get me started on the birds. That was a bad day. Hey, James, there he is. James says, I live hell on earth. Yes, James. I saw James last time I was in Los Angeles. James came out to the House of Glory show. Which, by the way, is a good time for me to plug real quick. Next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday, August 7th, after SummerSlam, is House of Glory High Intensity. And for the first time, we will be streaming the event live in full, in free on our YouTube channel, the official House of Glory YouTube channel. You'll get to hear me on commentary. And who knows, maybe doing other stuff. I don't know. We got a lot of big names, a lot of big matches on that show. You could check out what they all are on our social media, but hopefully we will see some of you in the chat. We'll be keeping track of what's going on. It's going to be a big night. R. Leon 01. What's the over-under on kickouts for Ospreay Omega? Oh, my God. They should list that on Kalshi. People can take bets on how many kickouts there are going to be in that match. Fucking Poly Market. If I had to venture a guess as to how many near falls we're going to have in that match, no less than 30. No less than 30. It's going to be out of control. All right, Friday. We got the SmackDown post show, the final stream for the month of July, the final stream before SummerSlam. I will be streaming for both nights of SummerSlam. It's going to be like WrestleMania all over again. WrestleMania is our biggest weekend of the year. Can we try to match that this weekend? It's going to be a big weekend nonetheless. Hopefully you guys, even if you're not watching SummerSlam, even if you're totally disenchanted with the WWE product, and many of you are, I hope to see you here with me for the full recaps on both nights. And unlike WrestleMania weekend, I will be doing a sound off as well. So you'll get the sound off. You'll get my Dark Side of the Ring review on the Big Boss Man episode that aired last night. I was not expecting, by the way. I watch Dark Side of the Ring every week, and there's a lot of sad stories. And I watched the Boss Man one this morning, and there's a part of the episode where I started crying. It got to me. That hasn't happened in a while. But I did cry during this episode. So we'll talk about that this weekend. Thank you, by the way, for all the feedback to the Uncrowned episode that dropped yesterday. Uncrowned Wrestling Show. You get more of me. If you didn't listen to it, go check it out. Longest episode I've done, about 90 minutes. And that is up for your listening pleasure right now as well. By the way, if you want to watch that episode, the Big Boss Man episode of Dark Side of the Ring, they are posting all the episodes. They don't even wait that long. It's like that night. They post the full episodes on the... It's not the Dark Side of the Ring YouTube channel. It's the official Vice TV YouTube channel, which has like 2 million subs. They post the full episodes on there. So the Boss Man one is up. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's a good one. All right, be well. Stay safe. How are we doing on the likes? Yeah, we didn't hit the goal. We did not hit the goal. We're at 490 on the likes. As you can see, the wheel said 600. I figured that was a long shot to begin with. It's a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday. What do you expect? We'll try again on Friday. Bring the thumbs. Bring your thumbs. We'll get enough likes. We'll do Be the Booker on Friday. Be well. Stay safe. Have yourselves a great rest of your night. Thank you for all the love. Thank you for the 93,000. And come on back here on Friday for the SmackDown post show. Until then, take care, guys.